Yeah.
All right, Mushoku Tensei versus Vinland Saga. How is Mushoku Tensei on here?
A lot of ED
fellow
viewers.
Isekai fans rise up.
ED
I mean,
Yeah, fellow ED fans.
I mean, I feel like I could give a good defense of Mushoku Tensei against most shows if it wasn't fucking Vinland Saga. Just
you're going up against peak here. Like it's pretty difficult.
Well, okay, well, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about Vinland Saga.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it might go through here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Vinland Saga.
Okay, well,
I mean, I say this as Mushoku Tensei's biggest defender. I'm going Vinland Saga.
yeah, okay, good. See, now I like both a lot.
Yeah.
And I watched Mushoku Tensei. I haven't watched the second season
Yeah.
because I heard that it's a bit of a.
I've seen a little bit of.
It depends. Mushoku Tensei, Mushoku Tensei Season 2, I think, has some similarities with Vinland Saga Season 2 as well, where they just slow things down and just really focus down on the character development.
Is it really just about him dealing with ED?
And I was going to say, the big difference is that you see Thorfinn realize that violence is bad.
Yep.
And he appreciates a good day's work.
Yeah, and he just appreciates a good day's work, and life is good. And Rudy is like, my dick don't work. What's up with that? What's up with that?
I mean,
That's
like, okay.
Not gonna lie, that sounds amazing.
to be fair, I thought it was like genuinely I thought it was like a genius move because the ED is kind of like used as a metaphor for the depression he's going through because he hits rock bottom and then he finds out he thought he hits rock bottom and then his dick doesn't work afterwards. So I was like, guess rock bottom has a basement as well. You know, I didn't realize it can get
When
worse.
my dick slumps down, so does my head.
I guess my thing with Mushoku Tensei that keeps me struggling is why should I give a fuck about Rudis? Because I kind of don't.
Yeah.
I kind of just don't like him.
I don't really like him either.
It's like I don't really want to watch him go through a struggle and have to, you know, kind of become a slightly better person, hopefully, maybe, asterisk.
Yeah, well, to me, the reason Mushoku Tensei, you know, really, I think is a fucking, in some ways, even more powerful than Vinland Saga is because you look at someone like Thorfinn, very, very, you know, inspiring character, amazing characters in the story, so well written and so interesting. But if I have to look at a character like Rudy and a character like Thorfinn, can I say I've met more Rudis in my life than Thorfinns in my life? And I would say I feel like Rudy is more of a reflection of people you've seen. You know, we're not necessarily friends with them, but you have seen and you've known people like Rudy before who are just like, you know, kind of assholes, you know, and a lot of ways selfish and very, very...
I would argue more than so. Isn't it that he, like, doesn't go to his mum's funeral and, like, stays in bed jacking off to lollies? Isn't that, like, the start of the plot?
I'm not sure if it's lollies, but it's definitely hentai. It might have been lollies in the...
Lionel.
In the line
Okay.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it was. I had felt when they were writing it, I was like, I think it's bad enough he didn't go to his mom's funeral. Oh, and he's jacking off to. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of just like the thing that I really, really like about Mushoku Tensei is that it is a very, very long journey of like redemption. We are not even close to like the redemption arc happening. It is like one small step at a time, but
It's got to get its dick hard first.
yeah. But without
I don't think I want to stick together.
but I think like without that kind of like time investment, you wouldn't really able to see like a realistic portrayal of someone actually going through character change or character development because it is
tough in that sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, because it doesn't take any shortcuts at all in terms of showing what it is like to change yourself. Because to change yourself in reality, it's not like you have one pep talk or one.
It's not a YouTube apology. In a
It's not a YouTube apology. It's not a Vinland Saga where you.
But that's also it is also hard to compare the characters given the setting they're both in.
Yeah, exactly.
Rudis obviously was in like modern day.
Yeah.
Whereas Thorfinn's in like
1200.
Not even like 1200. I think like 10.
Yeah.
Year 1000 when war was the only option.
Yeah.
For certain people, right?
Yeah.
Because on paper, Thorfinn's just a murderer, right?
Yeah.
But he's also fighting wars in a time when you had to fight wars. You didn't have
Yeah.
a choice, and that was part of it, right?
Yeah.
I guess if you think about it that way, is it that much of a shock that you know more Rudis? It's like, I don't know many
Of course
11th century.
Of course,
yeah.
I can't relate to a man who's been trained for war
Yeah.
and to come to terms with the fact that maybe he doesn't like killing.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know anyone like
It's like my
that.
man Steve just realized
I
that
don't
the
know
other
anyone
day.
like that. But at the end of the day, I feel like Mushoku Tensei, even though it's set in the fantasy world, some of the character writing is very uncomfortably realistic. To a point where there are some things that Rudy does that I will never defend, and always make me uncomfortable.
And whenever he has a good idea in the fucking show, I just think of that one fucking image of that. The worst person you know just made a good point.
Yeah.
That's all I can think about. That entire show is just that.
Yeah.
Like he sucks as just everything. And
Yeah.
even though I quite liked the show.
Yeah.
There was always that like nagging thing in the back of my head. That was
Yeah.
like, God damn it, he sucks.
Yeah.
Especially that first arc where he's
fucking hell.
literally the most insufferable asshole.
Yeah.
And I know that like, and I guess what's kind of disappointing is that they frame it as that. They set the stage of like he is kind of just the worst.
Yeah.
And and like you said, that he wanted to change, but I feel at the same time while trying to change this character and show change, it also tries to garner sympathy for like what he's done and what he is, which I don't have. I don't have any sympathy for him as a character.
Yeah.
And so I feel that when I heard about what the next one was going through and him dealing with depression, it's like, I have no sympathy for him.
Yeah.
I don't really want to give him any sympathy because I just think he's that bad of a person.
Well,
I kind of don't care if he changes.
Yeah.
He can just make his own new friends and go and make an impression on other people that care. I don't care.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, right? Because it goes back to like the Made in Abyss argument, where there are some aspects of it that will always make me uncomfortable, but I very do much appreciate it for the story that it is and the message that it's trying to say. Even though there is some things that I will never feel sympathy over Rudy about, but it does go back to that point where. Take a character like Rudy, for example, and take a character like Eren, for example, right? Both have done atrocities, different ways, different scales, right?
Very different scales.
Very different scales, but in a lot of, from what it seems like in, a lot of discussions and how audiences view fiction, it seems like people find it easier to sympathize with what Eren has done in his
100%.
fictional world than what
100%.
Rudy has done.
Yeah.
And it goes back to my feeling of Mushoku Tensei. A lot of the reason why it makes people uncomfortable is because unlike being a fucking war criminal or finding out like you don't like violence and killing people is bad, Rudy is a much more realistic depiction of the darker sides of things that happen or things that people see in our real world. To me, that makes it a more interesting show. But that I can also understand where you see some of the stuff he does and you're like, this is like getting a bit too real now. I cannot like I can't remove myself from this fiction anymore.
Sure.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like how, in real life, there were people who were obsessed with like serial killers and like fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Like Ted Bundy, they had like loads of fans.
Yeah.
Which is like insane.
Yeah.
Don't exactly get the same level of endurance, even though, they're both pretty fucking awful crimes.
Yeah.
But obviously as a society, we've deemed generally one to be considered worse.
You don't hear of many Jeffrey Epstein fans out there.
No.
It's like fangirls.
Yeah.
And that's why I do think in a weird sense, especially when it comes to like Attack on Titan weirdly, some people are more willing to be like, to forgive Eren.
He killed everyone, but he's kind of hot.
Yeah, he was kind of like, nah.
That's exactly the same way.
Gets it. Eren gets it. Yeah. It's just
But like,
weird.
have you seen his abs?
It is just weird, right? It's weird that we make those distinctions when I think both are objectively just fucking awful human beings.
Yeah.
But it's weird that for some reason, that is the line that just cannot be crossed.
Yeah.
And everyone else can somehow be garnered sympathy one way or another.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean,
Not that they should get any, but I'm just saying.
yeah,
It's very odd how we've managed to call it like, nope, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it all really depends on, to me, I have a very strong line between fiction and reality.
Me too.
Yeah.
And to me, I've not even like Made in Abyss or Mushoku Tensei's, but like a lot of fiction, there are some stuff that tackle very, very uncomfortable things, not just
as it has to. That's the whole
as
point.
it has to.
We
Of
need to have these stories.
And to me, I always have a very separate view of what an author is trying to say in a fictional world, even if there are some characters or even if there are some scenes that I definitely make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess just like when I'm watching Mushoku Tensei, I guess the thing that I didn't really enjoy is that I felt like the author was trying, or at least in some senses, trying to make me feel sympathetic towards Rudis. Yeah, I got that name for a second there. Rudy. In a way, I don't know, like it felt like the author felt that way. And I don't know if I'm looking too much into it, but that's just how it felt reading it. Watching it, sorry.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know why I felt that way.
I mean...
I guess that's why I didn't really like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of like obviously Rudy is based on like the most extreme end of like hikikomoris and otakus.
Yeah.
And would you be able to say that, hey, Rudy is not like the image you have of like the most like degenerate hikikomoris and otakus you can think of? I would say no. And to me, it's an exploration of those kinds of characters because I think the author asked the message, posed the question of, okay, can these people who are seen, especially in Japanese society, as like the lowest of the low, above redemption, can there be a way for them to have a redemption in any way, even if it takes a whole lifetime?
Well, apparently, yes, if you just go to another fucking world. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why can't he do this in his own world?
Why
does he have to die and be born with magical powers for this to work?
I mean, it's
then it wouldn't be that much.
Yeah, because
is it impossible to redeem a human being?
I mean, what you're asking is like a completely different story because I think the isekai was mostly used as a metaphor for like someone actually getting a second chance at life. If you have a second chance at life, because it's always weird arguing about what the ethical thing is, because at the end of the day, people don't get reborn in other worlds. I don't know what the mechanics are of that,
Well, we don't know. Don't spoil it.
Ain't no way.
Maybe we do, actually. I don't know what happens after death. But
I'd much rather see Rudis have to deal with, the current world.
The current world? Yeah, I think that would be interesting as well.
That.
I think that would be interesting as well.
So much more compelling, and then we could see him slowly making those changes, because him just getting reborn already wiped like probably like half of his problems off the fucking face of the earth. And now he's just got to deal with him trying not to be a dickhead.
Yeah.
Which is
Level impossible,
the easiest one to fix. Yeah, I would have loved an arc where Rudy used to be like, shit, I gotta start eating healthier in my house. That would have been a compelling arc. Have to come to terms with that.
I have to get a job, pay taxes.
Have to
become a part of society.
Have to realize that maybe I should try and reconnect with the family I have rather than get reborn into another fucking one, which I don't really care about. And then he fucking 1v1s his dad, I guess, and like mental games.
1v1's his dad.
1v1 me, dad. Buy me.
I don't know. And it's one of those things where I watched the show and I liked it a lot, but the more I've kind of let it sit, the more I look back less fondly on it.
Right.
Which is unusual, because I think it doesn't normally happen like that. Normally I get more fun. Time passes.
So
Vinland Saga?
I guess we're
Vinland
going Vinland
Saga.
Saga then after all
we're
that.
going Vinland Saga.
All right.
I just wanted to talk about Mushoku because obviously if it's on the list, it's worth talking about.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to come up again, so might as well talk about it while it's still there.
Yeah. Goodbye.